Welcome, everybody, to podcast number 259. Are you taking steps to improve your company field operations? Please stay with us.
This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome, everybody. I hope you can hear me okay. I'm here in a hotel, and I'm out and about doing consulting and having a good time of it. I've got Reno and Liam with me, and we've been having a good time having dinner. Good flight over here. It was Liam's first time flying on a plane, so that was super exciting. So now everybody's kind of winding down, and I'm doing this podcast to get it out for you. I'm really excited about it. The numbers for our podcast is off the charts. I'm really curious about what's going on. I'm wondering if you're breaking my heart and the numbers are going to go back down, or if it's going to keep this exponential climb. But boy, I tell you what, the podcast is really, really doing well. I'll just share with you, and like I said, this is just an appreciation. The message, I'm hoping this message gets out. But today we had 700 people listen to the podcast today. 700 people and climbing. So already, 2/3 of the way through the month. We're at 7,000 downloads for the month and on target to hit, 11,000. And that's a lot more than our normal progress. We went past 50,000 downloads for our all-time count. I think a day ago or 2 days ago, and it's really remarkable. So if anybody has any insight on why it's doing so well, if the search engine optimization is just all of a sudden heading that in a good direction, I don't know what's going on, but really, really good stuff. So today we're going to talk about field operations and what we can do step by step to improve our field operations in our companies. And it's going to be a great podcast. So I've recently started talking more about this. Is this list exhaustive? No, because every company is different. So I'm going to talk generally. And if you are a leader, a general superintendent, a field director, an executive, a president, and owner, you will want to listen to this podcast on how to improve field operations, because it's probably going to trigger some neat ideas that you can go implement yourself. So first of all, one other thing that I think is super fun and interesting, but it's also a little intimidating, is the new topics that I'm writing down for podcasts. It's getting so numerous that it won't even, I can't even, it's at least 30 or 40 pages of actual just bullet points. And I'm like, I got to get this one out. And my list is growing and growing. And so that's a positive in the sense that when I first started this podcast, I was like, oh, am I going to run out of content at episode 200? And then it's not a positive from the sense that, like, there's so much information to get out there that I just want to get it out right away. So I don't know. That's just a little, a brief note from me on our eternal progression here with this podcast. So I'm excited and a little intimidated. One little thing, I've got a couple of notes that I want to mention over the next couple of podcasts. Here's one I'll give you. This is a plea from me, hopefully done and received in humility. So so on all of the projects that I'm involved with, we bring Takt, T-A-K-T, Takt planning into the mix. And when we do that, the need for workers, the amount of workers on the project per crew, that doesn't mean the need for workers in construction. We will never fill that need, so nobody think they're getting fired. But the need for workers on a crew minimizes, and the material inventory on the project reduces and costs go up. Okay, so that's always been the case. And the projects can tend to seem a little bit boring. There's not a lot of buzzing and activity because there's this nice flow and installation of work. So what I'm seeing is on Takt projects that even if it's the same size project, and I'm serious, these numbers have happened to me. And I've got 15 or 18 electricians out there in a good flow on this $100 million project, and there's a failing project down the road that same trade partner is working on, and they've got, and I'm not messing with these numbers, I'm telling you, 85 electricians down there, the same size project. And that owner and that contractor and those people are clamoring, I need more, I need more, I need more, I need more. What I'm asking your trade partners to do is to please stop sending people to the B projects. Like, please hold your commitment to the Takt projects where you have a stable flow and it doesn't look like there are any emergencies. You're going to create an emergency if you don't at least give the committed 15 electricians. And I'm not whining and I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, if you're a trade partner and you're listening to me and you're like, well, what do you want me to do? They're begging for them. Our industry is never going to change. If they can take an additional, well, I don't math very well, 70 electricians and have you pay for them and pick up the tab and have that busyness and please their owner, they're just going to keep doing it over and over and over. So my plea, I'm begging you, if you have stable projects intact that are working with smaller crew sizes, please at least keep those crew sizes fed. I swear to you, I would not manure you on this one. Everybody who's listening, I swear to you, one time I came in to a project, and like I said, it finished perfectly on time. It's beautiful. But one time midway through the project, I came in and they're like, yeah, they rerouted 3 of our 15 electricians. And so now we're being a little bit delayed and we have to figure this out. And I'm like, you stole 3 electricians to go add to the 85 electricians you have in that barn burner down the street. Are you kidding me? Like, how short-sighted is that? So we have to stop doing that. So please take that as a plea, as a request, as a humble request from me to please stop doing that. And please take care. If you take care, electricians and plumbers and mechanical people, if you take care of your best projects, that's incentivizing GCs to do it the right way. Please do that. As we go through this podcast, I always want to remind you that I do project recovery. If you have a project in trouble and you're anybody on the project, please tell them, hey, let's give Schroeder a call. I can help you. If you have a question, I can help you. I'll find the answer if I can't. By the way, I still need help with that answer for how a superintendent can look for work. The other thing is training, boot camps, consulting, organizational health, team building. These are things that I can help with if you ever need it. So if you have a question, you want to attend a boot camp, please let me know. If you've already reached out to me, I have you on a list. I will be returning those replies here in the next couple of days. So as I go through a couple of the things on the scaffolding of this podcast, I want to mention what I'm excited about in life. Number 1, there are people like Felipe Engineer and the Lean Builder Group. I like calling them that because everyone knows them by that name. And there are, Lean Dean Reed. There's a lot of people out there. Adam Hoots. There are lean leaders throughout the industry that are kind of known in circles. We're starting to get a real good synergy and working together and referring each other. The Lean Builder group. I love those Joe and Kian. They're doing a great job. They featured my book on their blog. And and on LinkedIn, I'm so appreciative of that. We're starting to see a lot more synergy, and I just can't say enough about, Felipe's recommendation of Scrum, doing twice the work in half the time, the book, The Lean Builder, by Joe and Kian, and just a lot of the, integrating project delivery by Dean Reed and the other 4 people that wrote that book with him. I mean, it's just fantastic stuff. So I'm excited about that. Now let's talk about a little bit of feedback. So I've got a list of these feedback items, these paragraphs, and so I'm just going to keep ticking them off one by one. By the way, I reached a milestone today. Somebody gave me 2 stars on a review on Amazon for elevating construction superintendents. So that's a milestone, getting some, so got lots of positive reviews and then got 1 2-star. I don't know if I upset that person with CPM negative talk or on a webinar, or if really the book just sucks. Katie was like, well, you can at least get that out of your system. The only thing that was kind of negative is that if somebody gives you a 2-star review and then doesn't actually give feedback, like verbal feedback, and let somebody know who they are, isn't that kind of shady? Like, isn't that kind of like deceptive and mean? I don't know that I don't know that I love that. I love feedback, and maybe the book is 2 stars. But if you're giving a 2-star rating, and it's because it really is 2 stars, then you need to tell the author why. Otherwise, I think it could be considered being petty. Anyway, so that's just a little bit. But you've heard me say, before, feedback for improvement. I don't want it all fluffy. I just want to know what it is. So here's what he said. I just finished Elevating Construction Superintendents by Jason Schroeder, and all I can say is, wow, there are a lot of hard truths in there that I personally needed to hear. One that stuck with me is the culture of any organization is shaped by the worst behavior a leader is willing to tolerate. What a great book, and I wholeheartedly recommend it to any person in the construction industry. And so I really appreciate that feedback. The conflict for our podcast tonight, as we talk about field operations, is that we really need to strengthen our field. They are the product. What we build in the field is the product that we sell the owner. All of the financing, the cash flow, the submittals, everything else is scaffolding. The only real product that we sell is what we build in the field, and the journey that we give the owner. And so I just want to testify to you, and testify means that I know of a surety, I know of myself, that if you have a strong field and a strong field operations group, you will have a strong product. As I was thinking about this story, I've got a number of stories, but the main thing that stood out to me, I didn't think they were appropriate for this podcast, but the main thing that stands out to me is that, the United States Constitution and the two-party system in the United States was once likened to an eagle. And whenever you hear right wing and left wing, some people associate that with the wings on the eagle, the American bald eagle. And the fact that in order for an eagle to fly straight, you have to have balanced wings. And so while we hear a lot of political rhetoric about, the left and the right and bad, and really you're bad mouthing the other hand, you're bad mouthing the other wing, you're bad mouthing a body part on the same creature. Meaning, if you only had a right wing part of the government, you'd fly in a circle. If you only had the left, you'd fly in a circle. You need both to be balanced. And the more we get out of balance, the more we fly in circles, or the more we can't fly. And the same is true for project managers and superintendents. They're really a wing on each side of that eagle, if I was going to switch it from a political to a construction analogy. And I really feel like we should look at it like that. And so if you're a company that has this really strong wing, this project management side wing, and your construction field operations wing is weak, then you're going to not fly as high as you can, or you'll fly in circles. And so I really like that analogy as we go forward. And so I'm going to go through a couple of these and describe them as we go for tonight's podcast, because I want this to, I've never liked the saying whet your appetite. I really want this to entice you to think about what you could do to create a more remarkable experience for you. So let's go through these. These are not inclusive. These are a list of steps that have always worked with me when doing this. Let's go through them. Number one. Well, actually, not. Let me switch them to a numbering system. Maybe I can keep track. No, I'm not. Forget about the numbering. I'm just going to go through bullets. First one, align expectations of all field position levels. Now, you can use FMI, you can use historicals from your company, you can use other resources. In the book, Elevating Construction Superintendents, I've listed field position levels there that when I was working with a recent company, they had refined it, but I made that list. I made that list from throughout all of those positions in that form and shared it in the book so that it can give you a guide of where to go. I also have the 3 positions, 3 levels of field engineer in there as well. In order for us to go where we need to go, every employee needs to have connection, relevance, and measurement. If we don't have these position levels clearly defined for all positions, field engineering, survey, superintendents, at every level, they won't know what winning looks like. So if you want strong field operations, I would highly recommend you start there. The other thing is pay structures. Although in some cultures, They share openly and it's not a big deal. I do want and feel like when superintendents understand their future path and the pay structures at different levels, I feel like they know what's going on. They can gain a greater sense of security and they can have more hope for the future. Most people don't know that you can make total package 250, 240, 260, 260,000 plus a year when you've reached the level of senior or general superintendent and keep going. And that I know people in the 300s. Heck, I know people in some high profile companies that have so much stock and so much interest that they are literally millionaires. They have in retirement and in stock, they are millionaires. So if somebody says, I don't want to be a superintendent, I don't want to work all my life, or meaning work hard with my hands, or I'd rather go be a doctor, I'd rather go be an electrical engineer, we need to make sure that everyone understands their path through pay structures. Now, if people are listening to this podcast, I'm not saying that you're going to hit 260 a year. I'm saying that superintendents do well. Minimum base salary, I hear superintendents making 110, 140, 135, 160, and then whatever their benefits packages and stock is past that. Now, once you take 160 plus retirement, plus benefits, plus the truck, and then plus stock, and then accrual of stock, and your disbursements every year, I bet you anything, you're over 200. So people have gotten mad at me in the past for making it sound grander than it is. You can all go be a vice president of the company. Does that mean that you're all going to be vice presidents? Does that mean you're going to choose that? No. Does that mean it's on the table? Yes. Is that kind of money on the table? Yes. Go get it and work for it. I want it to entice you. Are you going to get that 3 years after school? No, I always say 12 to 16 years before you start seeing that money. But if you were a doctor, you'd spend that much time anyway, going through medical school and then going through your residency and then paying back student loans. My point is they're comparable paths, and they're both great paths. The other thing is once you've aligned pay structures, we have to align goal setting and performance reviews so that we use human systems to incentivize field personnel towards standard winning behavior. And those incentive programs have to align everyone to where they're going in the same direction, and we can create stability within an organization, because when we have respect and then stability and then total participation, that's when we can continuously improve. So we have to align everybody around these incentives, around this field operations structure, so we can create stability, so we can get total participation through those incentives, so incentive and survival, and then continuously improve. Once we have those basics, I strongly recommend creating a monthly superintendent meeting where top leaders are trained and the leaders train others and they are asked their opinion. I have heard of situations where executive leadership teams make all the decisions for field ops, for safety, for self-perform, for policies, for technology, and none of the lead superintendents were even ever asked. If you really want to change the culture in your field, if you want your key players out there selling what's right and supporting it, then you have to ask their opinion and get them to weigh in so that they can buy in. And then that is when it will work. That is when it will become remarkable. And I say that a lot, but I'm telling you, that will happen. When we scale, and I'll do a podcast one of these days about scaling up excellence. When we scale, we have to find our influencers, the popular kids, and have them scale the message, not just executive leadership. And that's when people will buy in and where the dissenters will feel like they stop having a voice. The other thing is, why not create them into a field leadership group? Why not get them together helping to steer, even if it's a steering committee, even if you still have vice president of operations, even if you have director of field operations in that group, at least have that group of intelligent human beings, intelligent field builders in there in that leadership group heading in a great direction. I've really been impressed at the effectiveness of this. In fact, one time I heard of a leadership team wanting to hold superintendents accountable for safety metrics, and my initial warning was do not attempt to hold your field folks accountable to anything unless you've given them a voice and asked them what they need to accomplish it. Very basic stuff. The other thing is once you have that group, we need to begin bi-monthly craft, foreman, and field engineer training and superintendent training and get those training wheels going, meaning that training flywheel. We need to have that system running in and out of that month every month and have people continuously be trained. There needs to also be a craft progression program that allows craft to either go through the field engineering path or towards the facilitated path so that they can become future superintendents. We need to start home growing our superintendents through the craft and field engineering paths. We can't be held hostage by industry level superintendents that aren't bought in. We need industry higher superintendents that are bought in and homegrown superintendents that are bought in. Once you have that group and you start training and you start getting feedback, and that field ops group needs to cover a different topic every time they meet and start to support the key topics of safety, self-perform, planning and scheduling, survey, and quality at a minimum. And if you're a large enough company where you have support departments, then we need to get those folks aligned under that group. And when your field operations group, your leadership, your leaders are advanced enough, then we need to start aligning performance reviews of lower level superintendents through them and the project director, project executive, project manager, not just the project manager or executive or director. I'm telling you as a superintendent, there's nothing that I hated more than answering to somebody that didn't know my job. Now, if you're a director and executive and you're like, I know your job. Okay, well, if you've been a superintendent for a decade, then sure. But if you haven't, I want somebody boots on the ground that understands that, and I want you. So don't be offended. I want somebody who knows my job in and out. The other thing is, with that group, you'll start to standardize all processes and systems. You're not standardizing and forcing these things down people's throat, meaning you don't have a minimum and a maximum standard. You will standardize minimum standards and you will allow people to progress and improve and take it beyond there with their own autonomy and abilities. Okay? When you do that, when you start to get stable systems, you will start to get stable, and you need to standardize office layouts. You need to standardize signage. You need to standardize checklists. You need to standardize certain processes. You need to standardize what you do in scheduling, what you do in quality. Basically, deploying standardized, I'll call them artifacts, meaning guides that will help our team succeed, is key in that next step. And then brand and package your safety and quality programs to align with those systems so that they get top priority. There's also a podcast I did on how to scale safety systems. I hope you either listen to that or know where to go back to it, or if you need help, please let me know. Here's what we do next. Deploy a field engineer, or if you want to call it a builder, and a super boot camp to get a really cohesive and cult-like, I'm going to say this again, a cult-like culture. If you want to get a cult-like field culture going, you start these camps and you do these once a year, I promise you, this is the ticket. It creates such an environment. It creates a cult-like culture. It's absolutely fantastic, and it gets people excited, and it progresses people. It moves them forward. I highly recommend that once your people are trained, you start designating general superintendents that are bought into your systems and that are not a pain in the beep, that will buy in, that are good with people, that are not cultural misfits, that really know what it takes. And here's the most important part, and they are learners. If they are stuck in their ways and will not learn, you do not want that. You never want to promote somebody into a general superintendent position if they are not humble, open, and fanatical learners. They're not a beautiful cultural fit. Once you promote somebody into a general superintendent that doesn't belong there, you are like. How do you like my editing? Anyway, okay. The other thing is field representation on the leadership team. This is so important. I can't state this enough. I've seen this happen, and it's great. You have to have this. If you're like, I don't know, what does that say? Hey, don't be mad at me, but what does that say about your company if the leadership of your company has finances and marketing and legal and office operations and all of these things represented, but you never on leadership represent your product? What does that say? And then I would say, once you have these things going, and the next step would be in all departments and amongst all groups, all teams, all leadership teams, we have to implement organizational health, team building, and the Patrick Lencioni method. That's what I'll call it. Once you do that, then we can implement the Paul Akers 2-second lean continuous improvement system is what I call it. And you're able to start to really develop your senior leadership in field ops and create leads, department leads, directors, or department heads, or at least super leads for safety, survey, quality, scheduling, and self-perform, and make those functional groups or those departments the highest functioning departments or groups in the company. Now, this is just a small taste of the things that you can do to really strengthen your field operations. Every company is going to have a different list and have more. My challenge is, right now we do not have a lot of companies with strong and cohesive groups that are networking. I was talking to one of my favorite people on earth, Erica Bice. She's at DPR. Jolie changed my life with Lean. And she was talking about one of their landmark projects in Phoenix where they were sharing, and there were a lot of people that came and toured the project for Lean, and then year after year it scaled and scaled and scaled, and she was just reflecting back to how wonderful DPR is with Lean right now, and that it came from that original project and scaling. And so that's really great. One of the builder bootcamp or superintendent bootcamp themes is to turn lone wolves into a wolf pack. The best thing you can have is supers calling each other, touring each other's jobs, asking each other for advice, and being one of the most cohesive groups that will share and be open and transparent and vulnerable. You don't hear that a lot with supers. If you don't have that with your super group, there is so much room to grow. So I challenge you to take steps to make your field operations stronger and to take it to the next step. You know how to do it. Here's the list. Call me if you need help. On we go.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating